Ozzy Osbourne and Tony Iommi reunite to give us some hope, Arch Enemy surprise even their die-hard fans, and Metallica is being cancelled by Gen Z. Yes, heavy metal is alive and well, so let's take a look at what keeps it going today. Here you go. The legendary Ozzy Osbourne and Tony Iommi reunited this week to perform the Black Sabbath classic Paranoid and an abridged version of Iron Maiden to close the Birmingham Commonwealth Games 2022.
Let's go crazy!
While this might not be an official Black Sabbath reunion, let's be honest here, this is pretty much the closest we can get to it, especially given the fact that the final Black Sabbath drummer Tony Clufetos and live Black Sabbath musician Adam Wakeman also went up on stage with the boys. And one of the coolest things in this performance is an element of surprise, for even though it was announced that Tony Iommi will be on stage, even the people who were involved in organizing the show didn't know that Ozzy Osbourne will join his legendary bandmate.
I really didn't expect it because we'd spoken, you told me you were not back.
We had to. We had
How long
to.
did you know for?
According to Ozzy's wife, Sharon Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness has first been asked to perform at the closing ceremony of the Commonwealth Games in his hometown of Birmingham back 6 months ago. Yet back then, he was not even 100% sure if he'd be able to walk by now, and only after a series of successful operations and after the event organizers actually saw that Ozzy Osbourne is able to walk and he actually attended Comic-Con.
Look good, man. You look good. The recovery's going well, I think. Yeah.
Meaning there are absolutely no excuses for him anymore, the Prince of Darkness gave his definite yes, which happened 6 days before the actual show. Yes, it actually does look like Ozzy's appearance on the show was a surprise not only for the fans, but actually for Tony and Ozzy themselves. And yet, as always, the legendary musicians gave out an absolutely amazing performance. This is the first time Ozzy Osbourne and Tony Iommi perform live together since the two released a collaboration track, Degradation Rule, of Ozzy's upcoming studio record Patient No. 9, and I just gotta say that whatever those two gentlemen do on stage together is always a pleasure to watch, at least for me. So yes, I was super happy to see them live together on stage this week. And especially since it gives us heavy metal fans a slight hope that after all, Ozzy Osbourne, after all of his surgeries and everything he's been through, will finally go on his No More tours, which I personally had tickets for like 3 years already. Speaking about live shows, by now, to be honest with you, I just want to go to pretty much any metal concert. Yet I cannot do that because of the war in my country, so please don't forget that the war in the middle of Europe is still going on, so continue supporting Ukraine in any way you possibly can. Swedish metal band Arch Enemy released their new studio record, Deceivers. Right off the bat, I just wanted to point out that although I do occasionally listen to some Arch Enemy, I can't really call myself an Arch Enemy fan. So please take whatever I say about Deceivers as a simple view of an outsider to an Arch Enemy family, and promise to not hate me for that. But in my personal opinion, the new Arch Enemy album rocks. Right off the opening notes of an epic intro of Handshake with Hell, the album grabs your attention and keeps hold of it until the very end, making you want to listen to it in just one listen, intertwining classic melodic death metal sounds with modern metal and even going back to the roots of traditional style heavy metal of the late 70s and early 80s. In addition to that, the band's vocalist, Alicia Whiteglass, does an amazing job for a first time on my memory showcasing her vocal range and building this wonderful contrast between the harsh and the clean vocals.
And after all is said and done, when the doctor lays the dawn.
And while this album, as I already said, intertwines different musical styles, sometimes reminding you of a 1990s In Flames, and right after that showcasing an arch-enemy version of You've Got Another Thing Coming. Okay, not musically, but lyrically pretty much. At the same time, it is extremely fluid and cohesive and does not sound at all like a collection of songs, but rather like a whole and all-embracive masterpiece. And I'll be honest with you, I was actually able to listen to this album a little bit earlier, before its release date. Thank you, Century Media, for sending it over to me. And yes, it actually has been on repeat in my earphones for some time now. But the fact is, I was actually able to record a little bit more detailed review of this record, which is already released on our second channel, MP2, and thus I'm not going to go into the details of each track in this digest. Yet I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Number one being that after I listened to the singles to this record, I was wondering how Arch Enemy would be able to tie it all together into one and cohesive piece. Yeah, they were definitely able to do so, and even more so, I was actually quite shocked that when I listened to this record, I actually caught myself thinking that pretty much any song from Deceiver can be a perfect single for this record. But not really because this album is faceless, but rather the opposite, because every track is extremely strong. And number two, a coming out one, Handshake with Hell, in my personal opinion, can be one of the best album openers I've heard in several years. If you are not new to the channel, you know that it is only the second time we're doing this little digest of ours. And if you are new to the channel, you also know that by now.
Yes, it's true.
So please do not hesitate to comment with any suggestions on how to improve these videos, or which bands in addition to our favorite Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, because believe me, I'll not miss any news by those two, you don't want us to cover. Do it. Metallica's Stranger Things success backfires, as some TikTokers now want to cancel Metallica.
On this episode, we're going to be covering Metallica. They're a band full of white men from the 80s. This band is ancient, so let's just jump straight in because it's going to be very, very long.
This week, a TikTok Voktivist in her series Is Your Fav Problematic attempted to cancel thrash metal pioneers, accusing them of being racist and Nazis, and racist and Nazis. And in a nutshell, saying that they are racist Nazis.
And starting off with a bang, there is their anti-Semitism.
Oh my god, I just realized that Metallica might finally understand how I and millions of other Ukrainians feel since they were born, given the fact that Russian propaganda has been calling us Nazis since before Nazism was even invented. In order to prove her point, the activist dug out some old footage by Metallica, which of course is publicly available and has been discussed already a million times, without even trying to understand the context of that footage, or at least to double check the facts she herself is saying in that video.
But don't worry, they spoke about Black Lives Matter. All of them did. Except for the lead singer, of course. And they did that with some black squares, no resources, and no donations.
And thus I feel like answering each one of her claims is actually counterproductive, since all of her accusations are so weak and inconsistent that all of the arguments she has are actually contradictory and don't hold.
There's probably much more of this considering that they're a band full of white men from the 80s, but this is all I could find for right now.
Yet I just wanted to point out one thing to any Gen Z TikToker who wants to cancel Metallica in the future. It might be sad for some, but Metallica simply cannot be cancelled. Yes, it's like a curse of some sort, and even Metallica themselves were trying to break the spell and cancel themselves. At first they tried to cancel themselves with Napster. That didn't work. Then they took another shot and tried to cancel themselves with Saint Anger. You know what? Some fans still love that album, and I'll be honest with you, I absolutely enjoyed singing along to Frantic at the Metallica 40th anniversary. And even since then, both the industry and Metallica themselves continued taking attempts on cancelling themselves, but none of them worked. So yeah, come on guys, next time you're trying to cancel someone for something they did over 30 years ago without even trying to dig deeper to understand what actually was going on there, remember that someone can do exactly the same thing to you, and pretty much anyone can be cancelled by such analogy. So in my personal opinion, instead of trying to cancel someone, and especially in the industry which you clearly know nothing about, get a life. This little break in between the segments I'd like to dedicate to the people of the Generation Z. The previous segment was of course in no way addressed to you personally, and only to that particular TikToker and whoever wants to cancel a heavy metal band. So please continue to listen to good music. Melodic death metal supergroup consisting of the genre's founders and pioneers, the Halo Effect, finally released their highly anticipated debut record. After listening to the album for a couple of times, I can confirm and stand by my own statement that this actually might be the best thing which happened to melodic death metal since pretty much its foundation. While I can't really call this album the most innovative I've heard in a long time, I actually don't think that it is intended to be so in any way, as it gives the melodic death metal fans exactly what they long for a long time. A classic sounding record by the boys who know how to record such albums better than anyone else in the world, yet including modern elements and modern sound. So if you are a melodic death metal fan and for some reason you missed the Halo Effect formation, which I personally think is a rather hard thing to do given the fact that pretty much everyone has talked about it, but still I highly recommend you listen to their debut record. For in my personal opinion, it combines pretty much everything you want to hear in a classic sounding album of the genre. The coolest thing about the Halo Effect is that given the enormous interest the media and the fans have shown to the band, it does look like the Halo Effect has actually overgrown the stage of a project and is becoming a real band. Since this week the boys pointed out that they want to dedicate as much time as needed to the Halo Effect without really sacrificing their involvement in other projects, which I personally think is a great thing, since let's agree, there is never such thing as too many good bands. This is just a reminder that if for some reason you're still not subscribed to this channel or didn't hit a like button for this video, now would be a good time to do so.
Exactly.
The organizers of one of the most legendary metal festivals in the world, Wacken Open Air, officially confirmed that Wacken 2023 is sold out. And it has been in under 5 hours.
This is Wacken Open Air.
In just about 5 hours, 80,000 crazy heavy metal fans have purchased all of the tickets for Wacken Open Air 2023, which happened only several hours after Iron Maiden announced that they will be headlining the legendary festival next year. The boys' concert in Germany next year will mark Iron Maiden's first return to the legendary Wacken Open Air since 2016. And if you are wondering what's the big deal with that festival, here's just a short segment of Judas Priest headlining this festival just a couple of days ago. So yeah, this week, technically in the digest. I told you we're not gonna miss any news about those two. And Iron Maiden is set to perform there alongside Megadeth, the Dropkick Murphys, Wardruna, and gazillion other bands. And in addition to already kick-ass news about the festival, this week's Wacken organizers have officially confirmed that next year Wacken Open Air for the very first time will be a 4-day event and will revolve around the theme of Vikings, thus increasing the longevity of this heavy metal event by 33.3%. Anyways, which festivals did you guys go to this year, or which ones are you planning or hope to attend sometime in the future? Please let us know in the comments, as well as which are your personal favorite tracks from this week. Is it by one of those bands we discussed today, or is it possibly the comeback track of the legendary Razor, who returned out of the ashes and in addition to releasing their first single in gazillion years, announced their next studio record?
Flames of hatred roar!
Or maybe one of the tracks by the newcomers Seventh Storm, the band which, although very new, might be slightly familiar to some Moonspell fans. I'm very curious to find out. And just a final reminder, if you'd like to rock a Metal Pilgrim t-shirt at your next heavy metal show, you know where to look for one. In the pinned comment. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!